Alrighty guys, so today we're going to be working on the Banshee teardown of the engine. The Banshee itself is over in the corner, bare frame. We did pull the motor out, obviously it's on the bench. And we're repainting the frame a little bit. We got to get the swing arm yet black. The hub's got to get black yet. And then probably the coil springs will paint a different color than this rusty white. But we're just kind of getting the frame all touched up so it's all done. And the motor was so-so when we got it, and it just never ran quite right. It always idled goofy, like it had an air leak. So I was just removing the stator cover on this, and oh my god, the bolts crazy tight. I had to use a hand impact. One of them I had to use the hand impact the whole way out, like it was cross-threaded in there crooked. Thankfully I got that in there, and I got that out. The pistons actually look quite good. The head is also quite good. What we're going to do is basically an eBay top end, and then we'll take the bottom end apart, check out the crank bearings, put crank seals in it, reseal the case, put all the seals in, you know, output shaft, shift shaft, probably do a rebuild on the water pump. A new clutch assembly is going to be put in. I'm going to take the clutch side off next. I got the kickstarter off, the shifter off. I just wanted to show you guys what was inside of the stator cover, guys. This is how rusty that is. And we were driving it like that. That's how rusty it is. Like, wow. That is really rusty. So that's what the stator cover looks like. So I'm hoping I have the right flywheel puller. If it's the same as a blaster, I had one in here. I think it's this one. Might be this puller right here. So these are reverse threaded in. So what I'm going to do next, guys, is try to get the flywheel nut off. I'll get this here sprocket off as well. And then you can tell this thing's been leaking oil out of the shift shaft too. So that's a good thing we got the seals. And like I said, when we have these cases apart, we may obviously take the pressure washer to it. Probably before once we get the stator flywheel off and this off, maybe we take, we cover this up and we pressure wash the gunk out of here so it makes it easier to clean up in a parts washer instead of getting your parts washer clogged up. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. But yeah, this motor is just so scuzzy from sitting. And like I said, we might paint the cases, or I might take everything out of the cases, polish everything in the bead blaster with the glass bead, and then it'll look like new again. I might do that, and then we'll paint the clutch cover. We'll repaint that black, and then the stator cover, we'll just clean that up. But could not believe, we knew it was rusty because I looked in here when we tried changing the sprocket and we couldn't do it in the frame because the foot pegs were all rusted tight and everything was all rusted. But wow, you can tell this thing was sitting for quite a while. So hopefully with any luck that flywheel puller from the Yamaha blaster will fit the Banshee. Get this nut off, guys, and then I'll show you how we thread that puller on, and we'll see if it comes off or not. Dude.
No wonder it quit running.
Oh my god. This is what it looked like, guys.
Let's take it
just again. Does she have any? Oh, she's got magneticity.
Good boy.
Oh, dude.
That's some good power right there.
Wow, it can really jump this. It can really get some magnetism when it's got about an 1/8 inch of rust. And the pickup coil, Mark, the little magnet thingy on there is just solid rust. Wow.
That is sick.
No wonder the crank still wasn't dry or anything in there.
No.
Well, guys, if you want to know the flywheel puller we're using a Tusk. If you look up a puller for a Yamaha blaster, same thing. Reverse threaded though. Don't do like I did the first time I did one of these and try for a half hour turning it right when it's reverse thread. So you turn this left, obviously you turn this to the right, and then have somebody hold this, tighten that. We had the biggest, strongest guy here do it, and he just about felt his shoulder tear, and then she gave way. So yeah, she was on there good.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, I mean, look at the little trigger coil, like the little thingy that's supposed to sense it, like that little bump there. Yeah, there wasn't any rust. She probably runs min if we cleaned it. But anyways, now we gotta mark the stator plate, guys, and then we gotta take the stator out, and then we can move on to the other side, get the clutch off, all that stuff. But I just get a visual. Pull in the light here, just the visual, boys. Just sick. Oh. I mean, he did say the guy we bought it from, it was outside, and I guess he wasn't lying, so.
How many years?
Right, for the year amount might be lying, yes. It might have been a decade.
Maybe 2.
Well, hey, I can tell you one thing that doesn't seal. The stator cover doesn't seal. For sure. They let water in, definitely. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
That's sick.
That's awful. Alrighty guys, we got the shop back going. Trying to get some of the nastiness off the bottom end here. You guys see me have the flywheel off, got the stator marked and off, pulled the sprocket off, draining the oil right now underneath. But this whole top part was just caked full of stuff. We took a shop back and kind of took most of it off before we get all the dirt inside the engine. But man, just terrible. So Mark's hard at work doing that and trying to get her somewhat cleaned up. But you can see the pistons, pretty good shape. Little dirt ingestion, you can see it's a little scuffed here. But overall, you know, it looks all right. Definitely, I would think this crank seal was definitely dry from all the terrible rust. Alrighty guys, so got the clutch cover off. Spark, want to mention how tight that one cross-threaded screw was in the water pump cover?
Well, here, we'll show you how crooked it is.
That's right there.
Oh God.
Right
there.
here.
Nice and crooked.
We put the hand impact on it. I think we were just twisting the screw. We weren't really we were just kind of going to snap it off. You guys can see there's an O-ring on this coolant pipe here. I'm just taking notes. We're taking a video, so when we put it back together, we know how to put it back together, obviously. So we got to take the Kickstarter return spring off, pull the kicker gear out. We got to pull the clutch off. We got to loosen our adjustment, and there's a long rod that goes across to your clutch arm. There's usually a rod and a little ball bearing in there. So we got to loosen our jam nut, and this is how you set the adjustment. So what I usually do is we'll take a visual of where this is. So you can see it's, I think we should line it up with that ear. I'm pretty sure it's how that works.
This arrow and that, just like the last.
So we're close. So that's how we're going to set it when we put it back together. But basically we got to do is we got to take this off, take all these clutch basket bolts off for the pressure plate, springs. You can see it's a little like something was rubbing, like it's all.
Like maybe all this clutch material that's.
And then look at the sludge in the bottom. Oh, just nasty. Something, there's like a little plate back there behind there, but the seal is still good. I mean, it looks like the spring, I thought the spring had come off, but it's actually just on the outside for the crank seal. So yeah, that's kind of how this is all together. You can see the shifter on the bottom with the shift dogs. You won't be able to see a good view at it until you get the basket off. But this is how that works. That kicker gear is going to come out and mesh with this when you kick it over. So we're going to take that out first, and just Spark wants to take that spring off maybe. Probably want to just squeeze it from there. Yep, and I think it pulls straight out. I would assume this whole shaft comes right out. Once
I gotta mesh those gears.
Oh, dang it. Probably got to jock it. There it is. So we'll set all that over here. See that little spring? I think that little bottom piece goes in that slot.
This here.
Yep, goes in that back down in there.
And then this ear.
'Cause that's how you hold tension.
Sits up against there.
Yep.
That goes.
Pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Goes together. Cooperate with me.
Yep. Good. And he's got to jockey it again. Jockey, jockey. We'll set that there.
I'm gonna go and find some
bags, and I'll do some labeling. Yeah. I'm gonna start taking the clutch loose, and then once you get the basket off, guys, we'll show you how that all comes off, and then the crank gear, and then right side of the bike, motor torn apart, clutch is off. We basically took the whole assembly, zip tied everything that came off. There's a big nut on top with the lock washer, and then there's a big spacer that goes on this shaft with a washer behind here, and then
between.
There's a little bearing cap here. We took that off, and then another one here that kind of goes. Well, I guess that was even on top of the case.
Yeah, but that one went out.
This one we had to take off though, because that is connected between the cases. So in case you guys are trying to pry the cases apart and it ain't coming, you have to take that off. Pulled the kicker gear out, you guys saw that. We took all the bolts out the top here, they're all 10 millimeters. Different size lengths when you take them out, make sure you pay attention.
2 shorts.
2 shorts and a long here, and then a double washered one for some reason was here. I don't know if that's factory or not. And then there's studs that stick through the bottom, so you gotta take 12 millimeter nuts. There's about 5 or 6 of them on the bottom. I did those first, because I didn't know if the damn case would come off or tip over or something, so we did that first. And then pull the pistons off. You're gonna need the pistons off when you pull the top cover off, because then they aren't gonna clear through there. So just take one circlip out of the pistons, slide the wrist pin out, and you're good to go. These bearings we had in there, the needles started to fall out, so that's usually not a good sign. Other than that, we're gonna take some mallets and maybe find some pry points on the outside of the case where we can get in there and kind of get it loose. That old Gamma Bond, it's gonna be tough to get off, but that's the plan of attack. We'll let you know when we got it. Guys, got the top part of the case apart. You can see it's down there. Basically, all we did was take a mallet on the left side where your sprocket was. There's a little ear on the case. Once we hit there, it started moving, and we just kind of went back to the other side. It hit near the front motor mount, and by then she was moved a 1/4 inch, and then it just pulled right off. So there's a dowel pin here, back left corner, and the center and the right side. There's a dowel pin in case they come out or you drop them. That's where they went. You can see your transmission gears, we have it in neutral right now. We may take all that assembly out at once when we take the final prep of the cases. And basically what we'll have to do is there's shift forks inside there. And I think the rod for the shift fork is down here. So when we take this all out, that whole rod will slide out and we'll have to lift it all out at once. And I bet there's another one right back here. That dowel rod is what holds those forks in. So you probably have 3 or 4, 3 I think, because it's 6-speed. I think the Blasty had 3, unless there's 4.
Oh, there's 1, 2 on this shaft.
2 on that side, too.
And then there's 1, 2 on this side.
So a little bit different than a Yamaha Blaster. I think they had 3, but their transmission looks like a little bit smaller. But it's still 6-speed, but it's a little bit smaller. But yeah, now we're going to lift the crank out. The crank should lift straight up out of there. It might be a little tight though, because the seals have been stuck in there since how old this thing is. Okay. And then we probably lay the crank right here for now. Oh, that's fine. It's just a little half ring.
And the bearings got your...
The pegs lay in these grooves in the case, which is pretty typical of snowmobile ATV stuff.
That one spun.
What's that?
That bearing spun.
Oh, it's junk?
Oh, the peg's gone. Peg, snapped off.
Oh, the peg's gone, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you can see it, yep. Look at.
Yeah, it spun it. Ooh. That'll be alright.
But it'll be okay. Some nasty stuff in there.
Oh.
Here's our little alignment ring.
Stinky.
But the crank seal, this seal is just piss poor. Look at the rust in the seal. You guys take a look at that. That can't seal very good when it's dry as that. And then you can see how it was on. So the numbers are on the inside. I don't think it matters though, they're double lipped.
Yeah, it's the same either way.
But anyways, that wasn't doing jack squat of anything. The bearings actually are a little ticky, but that one there definitely broke that pin right off.
This one here sounds nice.
They might have got a little dirt. We could flush it out in a parts washer. And, the rod bearings, no play in them up and down, just a little slop side. So that's a good sign. Basically, I know there's a little bit of a step process to do this crank seal. You take these gears apart and there's like a collar in there. So when we do the crank seals, we'll definitely get a video hopefully. But we might send this crank out and get new bearings put on it. Just for the sheer fact that that's broken. So, but that's how you get the crank out of one of these, and basically got to go in there and start cleaning up everything, and we'll probably pull the transmission out at a different time. But now we can get parts ordered and wait on parts and start the prep work of reassembly. And that'll be that. So we'll put a new clutch in this thing too when we get it back together. We'll get a video of that. And yeah, this crank seal, guys, is just awful though. I mean, there's no lip left at all. It's just sucking air. And that's kind of why this thing ran terrible. Never idled right. It was always jumping around. And
It self-identifies as a seal.
yeah. So yeah, that's how you get the bottom end apart on one of these Banshees. Wasn't too bad. We labeled everything we could in bags. There isn't really that many fasteners, to be honest. It really wasn't too bad. But yeah, we'll make a judgment call with the crank and see what a new one costs versus rebuilding one or just putting an outside bearing on it. Because you can almost do those yourself with heat and a puller, but it's sometimes nicer just have somebody that does it, just do it for you. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video, getting this thing apart, and we'll have more videos when we go back together.